Welcome to the 2020-2021 school year. We are so excited to have you as a member of our Ballet 4 or Ballet 5 class. We are starting off the fall with incredible momentum coming off of the summer intensive. What a productive summer it was. Our faculty is so impressed with how much you all have improved this summer. I think that the time that we had to spend apart in the spring really gave us that extra focus and extra fuel that we needed to push through and have an incredibly productive summer. And you all have improved so much, and you are so focused, so diligent in your studies this summer that you improved. I think it was the most productive summer that we've ever had at Project Ballet. So it just goes to show that when there's a will, there's a way, and we really proved that. So as we start the fall, I just want to continue with that excellent momentum that we have going and to keep that passion going and that excitement. For our virtual kickoff week, we have a homepage on our website that's been linked through a couple of different emails now. You can navigate to that website and find all of the information that you need to have a great week virtually. We have a number of events scheduled every day in real time. You can find those on the web calendar. And then we have a bunch of different videos, documents, and tutorials that you can work through to prepare yourself for the new year. A couple of things that I want to draw your attention to specifically. One is that we have a video that outlines our mental health initiatives. We're very pleased to be able to expand that program this year to include our level 4 and level 5 dancers. In the past, it's just been the advanced class. And so you are now eligible and enthusiastically invited to be a part of that program. And you can watch the video to find out a little bit more about that program. Also, I'd like to draw your attention to a meeting that will be happening this coming Thursday, September 3rd at 5:00 p.m. It's a buddy meeting where you'll get to meet your little buddies. This year we're doing buddies a little differently. It's going to be a buddy family rather than buddy pairings, and we hope that this helps to further build the sense of community at Project Ballet, but also that it takes a little bit of the burden off of the big buddy to have to constantly be reaching out to your little buddies, because there'll be some older dancers, some sort of middle dancers, and some younger dancers in each family. And that way the middle dancers can also help to mentor and guide the younger ones. Communication is very important at Project Ballet. We communicate very often with our families and give you a lot of information. It's important to stay on top of that information. The main way that we communicate with you is via email. Please double check all of the email addresses in your household and make sure that everybody who'd like to receive our emails are receiving them. You can do that by looking up those kickoff week announcements that I've been sending out. You should have received 4 by the time you watch this video, and those announcement emails prove that that email address is linked to our group emails and that you are receiving them. Now, if you have provided us with an email, but you're not receiving our group emails, it's likely because you have a Hotmail address. For whatever reason, Hotmail blocks the projectballet.org extension. It doesn't even send it to the spam folder, it just blocks it altogether. For group emails, it won't block my individual emails, but if I send out a group email, it will block it. However, there is a workaround where you can reconfigure your Hotmail account to make sure that, that it allows my emails to come through. It's kind of complicated though, so we have a flyer printed up that will talk you through that process, and you can pick up that flyer at the front desk. So if you have a Hotmail account and you haven't yet configured your email to receive my group emails, make sure that next week when you're in for class that you stop by the front desk and pick up a copy of that flyer. And then you'll want to make sure that you read my weekly wrap-up email. So essentially the weekly wrap-up is a announcement email where I give you the announcements for the week and let you know what's going on. And sometimes we find that, particularly in level 4, when the dancers are a little younger, that mom and dad may be reading the weekly wrap-up but not the dancer, and we would really encourage you starting in level 4 to make sure that your dancer is also reading the email every week. So the web calendar is something that you'll need to check every Sunday. The web calendar communicates to you your schedule for the week. Now the level 4 and 5 class schedule is fairly set in stone. Like you know that if you're signed up for class on Wednesdays, your class is going to be from 1 to 3 p.m. However, every once in a while we'll have a special event going on. There'll be a guest teacher in the building. It'll be a performance week, something like that, and your class time will shift. And so you'll know that based on the web calendar. Also, it will give you the rehearsal schedule for the week. So if you're involved in performances, that's where you'll find your rehearsal schedule for the week. We typically start out by being very clear, like which dancers in particular are called to rehearsals. And then as the months go by and you get more familiar with the format of the ballet that we're working on, we'll start to call larger groups. So like, for example, we may initially call just the party girls, and then we would call party girls, party boys, party moms, all of those people. And then by the end of the season, as we're getting close to Nutcracker, we'll just be calling party scene, and you'll know that you're a part of that. If you ever have any questions, just shoot me an email and I'm happy to explain something that's on the web calendar. If you're new and you haven't seen our web calendar before, this is what it looks like. It has a column here that has the date and then the time, and then there's a color code for the teacher. Like my color is red, so all of these red boxes indicate classes that I am teaching. Then you'll see the studio location in parentheses, and so we have A, B, C. This year we have D, L, which is the lunchroom studio, and P, which is the practice studio. Then it will say what the class is. So like the first class listed here was a rehearsal. Further down, you can see an advanced class, a level 2 class, a level 3 class. I believe that this screenshot is 2 years old though, because last year we started to also assign a color to each level so that it's really easy for you to find the classes that are associated with your level. And then if there's any additional information that needs to be known, we usually have a colon followed by that additional information, like a dancer's name or a note about a dancer having to leave class early to get to a rehearsal. We have a few small changes to the attendance policy this year. We have a new classification of attendance that's called a medical absence. I go into a little bit more detail about this type of absence in my COVID-19 video. I would encourage you to watch it. But essentially, a medical absence is any time that you have to miss school or miss ballet for a contagious illness, for symptoms that may be contagious, or for a quarantine situation. And you are given an unlimited amount of medical absences. It's very important this year that we have a shift in the culture at Project Ballet. If you are sick, students or staff, you must stay home. I know that dancers have a tendency to push through. If you're feeling, a little under the weather, but you feel like you could still do rehearsal, you'll come in for that rehearsal. Unfortunately, we cannot do that this year, and so we have to shift away from that mindset. The nice thing is that we will have remote options for all classes and rehearsals. So if you're feeling ill but not so ill that you couldn't attend a rehearsal, you can use Zoom to participate, which will be fabulous. So you'll just navigate to the web calendar, you'll click on the link for the Zoom code that corresponds to that rehearsal, and then you'll be able to participate remotely. And even if you are feeling not well enough to dance, but well enough to just audit the rehearsal, that would allow you to still watch the rehearsal, and then you could get the notes and stay on top of the choreography and not fall behind. So then we also have our excused and unexcused absences. Excused absences are things that cannot be helped. They cannot be rescheduled, like SAT tests and funerals. Unexcused absences are things that you make a choice to attend. So that would be like a church retreat. You are more than welcome to attend church retreats. You can make a choice to attend those. However, you are limited to, if you're a 6-day-a-week student, you're limited to 6 excused and 6 unexcused absences per year. This particular paragraph, it relates specifically to the advanced class, but many of our level 5 and level 4 dancers are also 6-day-a-week dancers. Now, if you're a 4-day-a-week dancer, you would have 4 excused and 4 unexcused absences for the year. And then 5 days a week would be 5 excused and 5 unexcused. The one stipulation to that, though, is that you may not use an unexcused absence for rehearsal. So if you know that you have something coming up that you really want to go to on a Saturday, you would have to choose to not be a part of the Nutcracker cast, because we will not allow unexcused absences for rehearsals, only for ballet classes. Now, that being said, there's a form at the front desk called a rehearsal request form, and you can use that form to request a day off from rehearsal. We can accommodate those within reason. Like if you request the Saturday off right before the dress rehearsal, it's very unlikely that I can give you that whole Saturday off unless you have a part that doesn't usually rehearse on Saturday. But for the most part, level 4 and level 5 dancers are very busy on Saturdays. So, but for example, let's talk about an example for that rehearsal request form. Let's say that your aunt is getting married in April, and you know in October that you hear that her wedding is coming up, you hear about the date. You can put in a rehearsal request form for April and let me know that you have a conflict, and I will do absolutely everything in my power to work with you and make sure that that you have that day off. However, every once in a while something comes up where I just cannot accommodate a rehearsal request. Like if you were, for example, cast in a piece with a guest choreographer, like with Mr. Vernon, and perhaps that may be the one Saturday that he has available in his schedule to come into Fort Wayne and work with the dancers in his piece. We're at the mercy of his schedule. He doesn't care that your aunt's wedding is that weekend. And so if something like that were to come up, you'd have to make a choice between going to your aunt's wedding or being a member of Mr. Vernon's cast. So sometimes, you know, we do have situations that come up where I'm not able to accommodate a rehearsal request form. Let's take a minute to talk about conduct and consequences. It's important that we have clear expectations for our students. One of the ways that we're able to maintain such a high standard of training and also such a family-friendly environment is by being very clear on what we expect from our students. I would encourage you to read the handbook and to be familiar with all of the policies, but in the end, there's really just 4 policies that you need to be aware of. So what are the main rules to remember? The first is no cell phone or electronics. So we want you to be fully present when you're in the building, to be present for your friends, present for your teachers, and focused on the task that you have at hand. For that reason, we do not allow students to use their cell phone or their electronics when they're in the building. You're more than welcome to come to the front desk and call mom or dad if you need to talk about a ride or you forget your lunch or something like that. And you're also more than welcome to bring, like, for example, a laptop computer if you need it for your schoolwork. So you can come to the front desk and request a technology pass, and the front desk will fill out a pass for you, and then you can sit down at a table with your laptop and work on your schoolwork with the pass setting next to you, and then all of the staff in the building will know that you have special permission to use that laptop. We also ask that you keep food and drink in the area that's up front by the lobby. So we have a number of socially distanced tables spread out throughout the building this year. You can learn more about that in my COVID-19 video. But as you're sitting at these tables, we only want you to have food and drink at the tables that are in the lobby or near the front office, not the tables that are back in the academic wing. We also ask that you not keep food or drink in your dance bag or in the studios or the academic area with you. If you could please, upon arrival in the morning, drop your food and drink items off by the refrigerators. That helps us to make sure that our janitorial staff doesn't have to be cleaning up food throughout the entire 15,000 square feet building. And it also helps to keep down the bug problem that we sometimes have. Of course, you can keep your water bottle with you at all times. Keep noise to a minimum. So all that we ask is that as you're having fun with your friends and hanging out in between classes, that you just make sure that your volume level doesn't interfere with operations. So that means if you're congregating outside of a studio where there's a class going on, you have to keep your voices low enough that you wouldn't interrupt that class that's in session. Likewise, if you're near the front office, keep your voices low enough that the front office can still have a phone call with a customer and not not be able to hear on the phone because you and your friends are being so loud. And then the last thing to be aware of is dress code. So if the dress code has changed a little bit this year. The items are all the same, but we have a little bit more detail added in there. So make sure to read that section of the handbook and get familiar with it. We are pretty laid back about dress code in the summertime. So if you are, getting used to a more laid back dress code in the summer, make sure that you remember that once fall classes start, we follow that dress code to the letter. Now, if you were to break one of these rules, like let's use the example of keeping noise at a minimum, the first thing that will happen is you'll get a verbal warning. So if you're near the office, they're trying to have a phone call, you and your friends are being really rowdy, someone from the office will come and ask you if you could please quiet down. Now, our staff is only required to give one verbal warning, and obviously we don't give verbal warnings to like particularly heinous things, like if you were to steal something, for example, we skip the verbal warning stage, but for a minor offense like being too loud, they have to give you one warning, but honestly most of our staff is willing to give many more than one warning. So they may come and remind you a couple of times, or perhaps it's happening at the same time every day and they keep reminding you. At some point, they're going to switch over to a written warning. So we call this a record of disciplinary action, or a write-up. Your first write-up is a written warning. So that warning actually will not go home to mom and dad. The staff member will sign it. You'll sign it. That will let us know that you've seen it and that you're aware that you've now had a written warning, and then that will go in your file. Usually that's as far as things go. Once we give kids that written warning, they usually shape up pretty quickly. But if you didn't, then you'd get written up again. At that point now, mom and dad get involved, and we start the process of making things a little more formal and having parent conferences and seeing if we can get to the bottom of this behavior. If things still do not improve, you would be put on what we call probation. The terms of probation are actually set by the student in cooperation with the administration and parents. We sit down all together and decide, what kind of things are going to help you to get back on track and to be a more productive member of our community. And then we'll set a timeline. And if you're unable to accomplish those things within the timeline that we set, you will be dismissed from the organization. It is very, very rare that a student is put on probation. We've had no more than a handful in our 17 years of operation. So just a couple of more things we need to go over. The first is that Ballet 4 is too big this year to all be in the same studio together because of COVID. So that class will be split into 2 groups every day except for Saturday. On Saturdays, there are not as many people signed up to take class, and so we can have you all together on Saturday, but Monday through Friday there will be 2 groups, and so you'll watch the web calendar for that. And for the most part we will be splitting the groups by ability, so we'll have a sort of a returning group and a new group. Secondly, I'd like to bring your attention to the season sponsorship fundraiser. We have one mandatory fundraiser each year, and essentially it is selling an ad in the program. We call those our season sponsors. Every family is responsible for selling one ad. This year we have lowered the prices of our ads because of the social distancing that's going to be required at the auditorium, so we'll have less people in the audience, and so it's not as great of a marketing opportunity for the businesses as it has been in the past. But the prices start at just $75, and that sponsor then gets to advertise in our program the whole year. So that paperwork is available on the orientation website, and I would encourage you to go ahead and get that downloaded and get working on it. The deadline is the first weekend in October. And then finally, just to wrap up, I just want to emphasize one more time what a privilege it is to be a part of this organization and to teach you all and to watch you grow up and to be a part of your journey as a dancer and as a human being. I love my job. Our staff loves our job. We love working with all of you, and I hope that we can persist and have a wonderful year despite the many obstacles that we have to work around this year. But if the summer is any indication, these obstacles and this hardship only pushes us to work even harder and to accomplish even more. And so I have a feeling that this is going to be an incredible year. Thank you for joining us.